Om Hari Om. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvina Vaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. May the Divine Being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the Divine Being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto thee, unto us, and to all your beloved beings everywhere. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Sunday morning talk, which this morning is titled Contentment and Gratitude. But just for a moment, what does it mean to study the art of spirituality together? We, of course, each one of us study it on our own. But what does it mean to study together? It means to join our intentions, our care for one another, and our wish that everyone be lifted up by what it is that we are studying, and let that lift everyone up by the combined energy of our studying together. Any comment from anyone, or concern or question about what was just said? Anything at all about what it is we're doing as we're studying?
Yes, if I may.
Please, dear.
In Sanskrit, it is said Sankhe Shakti. Sankha, group, Shakti, energy. So energy increases if we put in a joint effort instead of...
Hold on just one moment, Uma.
Oh.
Yes, dear.
You pulled the law?
Yes, I did. The area in front of this desk needs to be swept and mopped.
Wait a minute, what now? Hold on.
It's not wet now, no.
Oh, no.
It's just that there has been spills and so on. So if that could be taken care of.
It'll be taken care of. I get it sometime.
And by the way, thanks for the laundry.
You're welcome. I get it sometime. Do you have a broom in here?
I do not, dear.
Okay, I get it.
Thank you. Sorry, Uma. I pushed the button before this started. So would you begin again about what it says in Sanskrit?
Yeah, it says Sankhe Shakti. Sankha, group, crowd, large number of people. If we can do whatever by ourselves, its effect increases if we do it as a group jointly rather than individually alone. So it increases the power, the effect, and the impact if we do anything in a wonderful spirit of togetherness. So that's what I think you are saying.
Well, indeed it is, dear. And that is, it doesn't surprise me that there is a strong scriptural affirmation of this, far older than what I just said. But as we know, we hear this from Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother Vivekananda, that our activities together are powerful.
Right.
So thank you for making time So many of you came this morning. How beautiful, how wonderful. So before we begin, is there anything else that anyone would like to add to what Uma just said?
It's also, I think, good karma that allows you to take joy from these activities and also feel that and have access to this. I think I'm sure all of us have so much of good karma in the past.
No question about it, Rajiv. You're absolutely right. It is our bright karma that draws us together this way. It is our bright karma that draws us to spiritual life, to making the effort of spiritual life. It is our bright karma. And we bring that, we're told, from past lifetimes. Of course, I can't assert that as a truth. I don't know it as a truth, but certainly the great teachers have told us from many traditions that this is, in fact, the case, that we carry our karma forward, both the bright and the dark, and those struggles that we have, which we will discuss a little this morning, those too are our karma. So thank you, Rajiv. That's exactly true. Anything else from anyone?
This may sound a little strange, but you know, a lot of times during these classes, I'm at my worst. And to be able to be vulnerable and just let people see what my defects are and just put it out there.
Well, Bhagavan Das, you say this. I have to say I don't see it, but that doesn't mean that you don't feel it. Your defects are not, as far as I'm concerned, noticeable or of concern. They are, of course, to you, but we see your and feel your commitment to what you're doing and your commitment to this group. Otherwise, why would you come? So thank you for being open and vulnerable, but please understand that it is the positive side that we are feeling. And thank you for being here. And it doesn't sound strange at all that you bring this up. Anything else from anyone? All right, as you know, what's going to happen next is I am going to disappear from your screen. You'll hear me, but not see me.
Actually,
As I read the, yes?
I'm going to interrupt you for a second. We can see you. You don't disappear.
Oh, I see.
You can't see us.
Aha. Well, I'm glad you told me that.
What's
Yeah.
it?
Sorry to interrupt you, but I just want,
I'll
yeah.
be myself better. As
So
I
don't make any funny faces or anything at us.
Yeah, and if you're not wearing pants under there, don't stand up.
Okay,
Well,
carry on.
there's a funny thought. All right. No concern in that regard. All right. I am going to then bring up the poem and read it. Contentment and Gratitude. Thou, my beloved Thakur-Ma, thy will be done. This is your machine. Thou art the operator. This is your machine. Thou art the operator. To be content is your grace. It is a gift beyond measure. I cannot will it to be, though I can wish for contentment to come, and I do. The same is true of thanks. Gratitude is what you gratitude for what you offer. Sorry. The same is true of thanks. Gratitude for what you offer is another of your great gifts. Yearning for that too arises when my heart seems empty and my mind complains, oh, oy vey es mio, oh, woe is me. My heartfelt prayer is to be thankful and content. My heartfelt prayer is to be thankful and content. Please grant that. You who are ever present, all knowing, and the doer of all we know, let me be patient and forbearing. Let me be patient and forbearing like the tree, and take no honor to myself. My heartfelt prayer is to be thankful and content. Please grant that. You who are ever present, all knowing, and the doer of all we know, let me be thankful and forbearing like the tree. Let me be patient. Let me be patient and forbearing like the tree, and take no honor to myself. So before we go on, is there any comment or question about what was read?
What was the name of that again, brother?
Contentment and Gratitude. And you can find it on our website, and it appeared in this week's e-news. So that is the full poem appeared there. Anything else from it?
It's a beautiful prayer.
Thank you, Balakrishna. Yes, it is heartfelt. And it comes from, of course, many years of experience in this path. So thank you. I'm glad you liked it.
Brother Shankar,
Yes.
you know, contentment is an English word. When translated in Sanskrit, it has two derivatives, tosha and santosha. Tosha means you can be content with anything, right or wrong. Santosha, when you are content for the right reason, then it is called santosha. So it is not appeasement of desire, it is uplifting yourself to something which is good and then attain it and then be satisfied with that one. That is santosha.
Very good. And what is the Sanskrit for gratitude?
Upakara.
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 And kara is, of course, derived from the verb doing,
Yes.
or to do. So what is upakara?
Upa has multiple meanings, but one which is most relevant in our sense today will be next to. When you are next to someone and you say you did it, that is upakara.
Well, we are next to many this morning.
Yes.
Thank you so very much, Bhagirath, as always, for your contributions. Yes?
I just was going to say, I really like that, Dr. Mudge. It's sort of a higher type of contentment, it sounds like you're saying, because being content with whatever doesn't seem like something to aspire to necessarily, but you know, it all comes back to you know, discrimination, you know, what, paying attention to what it is we are going to be satisfied with. You know, we can want more and more and more fancy cars, or we can want more and more peace, and
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
so
This-
it matters what you're paying attention to. Anyway, I really like that. Thank you.
And the poem is directed toward that higher contentment, that higher satisfaction, not just with anything that occurs, though in a sense we need to be not disturbed by what occurs. I mean, we'll talk about that next week. Next week's topic is, it is a blessing to be broken. We will talk about what it means to have your life. I'm ready now to talk about what happened on July 28th, so on. So it will be, we must be, if not satisfied and content, we must at least be able to deal with that which is not so positive and not so gratifying.
Dr. Shankara, I want to add one thought. First kind of contentment I interpret as doing without. Enough. I have enough. I'm satisfied. That's the first kind of contentment. Second, I would say, means to willingly withdrawing ownership. That this is okay, it's mine right now. It can be taken away. But before it is taken away, or before I have to give it up, I willingly withdraw my ownership. So that is the kind of higher contentment.
Yes.
I withdraw my pride. I withdraw my ownership of a thing.
That is very much contained in the last stanza of the poem here. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right.
Yeah.
Well, we don't own anything.
Yes.
We have this feeling of possession,
Right.
but it is in a way kind of mildly comical, because if we just look at it, this thing that we think is possessing it, this body, mind, intellect, will soon pass away. It arises, it passes away, like everything else in the universe. It arises and passes away. The only thing that doesn't arise and pass away is universe itself. Maya itself is ever present, without beginning, without end. But the products of Maya, produced by the gunas and by mother's will, we're told it is mother, those things arise and pass away, including this Stardust spacesuit that has this rather comical idea that I possess anything at all, cars, houses, even the love of other people. Of course, the love of other people is a much more durable possession. But as we pass from this life, that love may persist into our afterlife, but we won't experience it in the same way. So thank you, Uma, as always. Anything else from anyone?
You know,
Well, the same thing Krishna made it very interesting and easy to practice in Bhagavad Gita. All he said, whatever that it comes to you, it is a prasada. It is from God. So anything, whatever that comes in your way, whatever they do, it is all a prasada. As long as you have that idea, everything is contentment. There is nothing, no deficiency at all.
Very well said, Balakrishna. And he adds to that in another chapter, do not love the products of the gunas, neither hate them. We simply accept them for what they are, which is, as you point out, prasad. It is the gift, which is specifically that term is mentioned in the poem. All these are gifts of the divine.
Yes.
And so very well observed. Thank you. Somebody else was going to speak at the same time.
It was me, brother. Yesterday I had a long talk about this very thing with Swami. And, something that hit me really hard that he said is that the machine has no desire. And, I see how that desire causes discontentment, which in itself impedes the machine or impedes you being the machine without desire. That doer just keeps creeping in.
Oh, yes. I mean, it is that sense that I am the one doing this false sense of I-ness that comes from the reflection of the cosmic I in the body, mind, intellect. So we end up thinking, I am the doer, I am doing this, I am the one, and of course it's all false. It arises and passes away. And in the most profound sense, you are the doer because you are the divine being. But that is the great mystery. That is the goal of our spiritual progress, is to understand that I am nothing more than the divine being, having created this stardust spacesuit for impenetrable intentions of its own. Another thing that Swami Sarvadevananda said in a recent conversation is he agreed that mothers, the Divine Mother being the creatrix, her intentions are impenetrable. And so what is it that we can do? We can only pray. We can only pray. And that's one of the reasons that this poem arose. Anything else from anyone before I go back to the poem?
Really, prayer and practice also was the only way to solve the paradox of not being the doer.
Exactly. We both are, and this is the paradox. We both are and are not. As the stardust spacesuit, we are not. As the Atman, we are. Saguna Atman. Atman with the attributes. As you say, very mysterious, very paradoxical.
Brother, this is Gaurav.
Yes, Gaurav.
Yeah, the thing is, to me, I know it probably is a little comical, but I see myself as on a floaty on a huge ocean of Maya all around me, and that's all that is. And I'm just gonna float along with the water.
Well, this is a very, very strong position to take.
And as soon as I do that, I don't have any. I'm neutral to pretty much. Hey, it's all mom working, so.
Yeah, well, this is the fundamental principle of what is called the Tao. We simply float along with the river of the Tao, and we observe what we see, on both banks, one bank being the negative, one bank being the positive, and we observe it as it arises and passes away. And so this floating, that's why I say, is a very strong position. Good for you. Good for you to be able to maintain it. Anything else from anyone?
You know,
Well, the chakra.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes, Fred.
I appreciate that you're beginning this poem on the issue of non-doership, and I think that is key to contentment at last. But it reminds me of your statement that reminds me of a statement from Ramesh Balkazar, who likes to quote, I've never been able to find the source for it, but he says that the ego is that mechanism within the human mechanism that keeps the human being from realizing its mechanistic nature. And that's always struck with me. And I think it's a helpful foundation for contentment that lasts.
Would you repeat it again, please, what it is that he said?
Yes, he says that the ego is that mechanism within the human mechanism that keeps the human from realizing its mechanistic nature.
Yes. We think we are the doer. We think that we don't understand that we are a machine and that there is an operator of the machine. We don't understand that, and it is as this stage points out, this is the mechanism by which this is disguised from us. So thanks for bringing that up.
I think observation of your own body is actually a good starting point to start chipping away at that.
Yes.
Because, like I was just noticing, I don't know if you can see it, but I just did have surgery on my elbow. And it really hurts to put my elbow on the table or the armchair. And I'm sitting there meditating and I'm just watching how sometimes I'm aware of it, sometimes I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
And then being aware of it and watching how it comes and goes and realizing that, it's at the level of the mind and the mind being a separate thing. And you just, I don't know, you just start paying attention to it. And
yes,
eventually you realize that, that's all something different than what I am. I'm just.
that will be very much dealt with next week. This noticing and not noticing. And it is a blessing to be broken. You had surgery on your elbow. That is a way of correcting something that is broken. And so, all well and good. Thank you. Thank you, Bhagavan Das.
Yeah.
Brother, sorry. Go ahead, please.
Just bouncing off what Bhagavan Das was talking about, and you were talking about, Brother Shankara, about being broken. And I mean, pain and suffering are such great starting grounds for starting to really look at things. Because we have to, usually, if we have surgery or we break a hip or we have a new medical or issue, we're taken out of our usual routine thoughts.
Amen.
And we start to have new thoughts. And I love what you said, Bhagavan Das, about, paying attention and it being really, pain isn't in your elbow. My arthritis pain is not in my wrist. It's in here. And I've been sort of playing a little game for some time now where if something hurts, I'll just say, that hurts. And that pain is just a signal to my brain. It's not in that body location I think it's in. It's in my mind. And it's just a signal. And just change the signal, And it's also, and Robert will probably agree with this, that, music, because we're both musicians, and when you're playing music, you are so hyper focused without even trying. You're so hyper focused on that music, and you become that music, and anything going on with your body just goes away while you're playing or performing. Not always, but usually. And it's about focusing on something else.
Exactly. I cannot agree more, Cindy, because I am going through right now the kind of pain which is, I know, the doctors know it's never going to go away, and surgery is not an option. So what do I do? I found out that whenever I come to my study room and occupy myself just like music to you, for me, it is reading and writing. So whatever you're deeply absorbed in, when you do that, automatically the pain gets a backseat. And you have no focusing on that, whatever hurts. But when the night comes and you are all by yourself, doing nothing but sleeping, that time, that pain takes the front seat. And that time, for me, prayer works.
Very good, dear. I love your imagery of back seat and front seat. That is exactly how it feels. It comes to the fore, it fades into the background.
You know, it's like if you deliberately focus and meditate on the pain, sooner or later you're not going to be able to hold on to it, and then you'll just realize in your mind it's gone away. And that's what I mean. It'll come and go, and then the actual coming and going of it shows you, you know, the reality of it, that it's not really that real.
Well, that's what Cindy was gesturing to also, that its reality is, we give the reality to it. But as Uma points out, there are times when that's very difficult indeed, and our resort is to prayer, which is exactly what Swami Sarvadevananda said. Our resort is to prayer.
Contentment is not completely neutral, right? It has an element of like joy in it.
Oh, yes.
And then maybe you can start hankering for the joy, then you are no longer content.
Well, as long as you're having any hankering whatsoever, then of course you've moved out of contentment into dissatisfaction with the present moment. So yes, you lose your contentment when you hanker for more contentment or more joy. This is the great mystery. We must be content with what is offered. That's what the poem says. Let me be content with what you offer. So thank you. That was very well observed.
I just like to go back to what Bhagavan Das said right now, that we have to, if we have a pain, then we have to meditate on that pain. Can you please explain a little bit more so that then it will go, means it will go back, back seat or something like that? What is that? How one can do that?
Well, as Uma pointed out, it's not a question so much of meditation as it is of prayer. We redirect our attention to higher thoughts, to higher aspirations, which is what prayer is. And then it takes a backseat. It was in the front seat. Now, because you are praying, you find that it recedes. But is it easy? No. Spiritual struggle is not easy. It's very simple to talk about conceptually. But it's not easy because it means that we must gain some control and mastery of the mind. And that, of course, is what spiritual practice is all about, is gaining control of our mental and emotional processes. So, does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's right. But I was looking towards what Bhagavanda specifically told about meditate on pain. What does it mean?
What,
Meditate on
think
pain.
of it like this. It's like your mind, and maybe it's just because I'm not that good at meditating, but I cannot hold on to that thought forever. And if I meditate on that pain and I'm observing it, sooner or later my mind's going to slip and I've forgotten it and it's gone.
Oh,
If
is
that
that
makes any
gone? Will
sense.
be for a temporary nature, or it
Well,
is?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you watch it, it'll come back in the mind,
Mhm.
and then you'll forget it again. It's like
Okay.
me
Yeah,
personally
yeah.
speaking, I just can't hold it indefinitely in my mind.
Yeah. This is sort of a practice you're saying. Okay.
I
Got
have
it.
a way to like when I'm extremely now I'm not sure if it'll work in like acute pain, but if you're extremely lethargic or very exhausted to a point where it's, and sometimes that might happen when you're sick or something, I just lie down and then try to imagine that my body is like a rope fallen off and it's sinking into the ground. It's almost like it's disintegrating and it's gone. It's like it's dropping into the abyss below. And in the beginning it is very uncomfortable, as if something is trying to take something very dear to you away, right? Your body is very dear to you, so you don't want to give it up, but it's like at that moment I shouldn't move my body at all, not even a little finger, and continue, maybe with little music, and just imagine as if the body is falling, is going, disintegrating into the abyss, and then there is a rush of something if you're lucky, there's a rush of something that just overtakes the plane, and it's like a very, I don't know, it's like a very soothing feeling.
Well, this is an example of true yoga that you just mentioned, Rajiv. This is an example of true yoga, and very, very hard for most people to achieve.
I think it's um I think it's willpower. If somebody can try to do that, like with music, that there has to be some meditative music, and just have willpower to not move the body at all, not even a finger. Like there's a very strong temptation. Like it's almost like a bow. It's like you are in a boat and you are in waters, like stormy waters, right? And but it's almost you are at the front of the boat and trying to hold on. So that must be there. You should not move the body.
Well,
It's almost like if you cannot move, if you cannot stop your mind from thinking, that's okay, but at least you can stop movement of your body, and it starts from there.
well, that is, I know from experience, dear, that is very difficult indeed. I know from personal experience of attempting it myself. It's very difficult.
But
But thank
it's
you for
slightly
your
easier.
association.
It's like, brother, it's slightly easier when you are like in shavasana rather than sitting, because sitting can create pain. So I mean, I sometimes try to do it in shavasana, because that is very, very relaxing. Now I don't
That's
know how
what
it
I
goes.
meant. That's what I meant about it being a yogic.
Yeah.
Pramana is a yogic posture. So yes, maintaining that motionless Shravana posture is the way many Hatha yoga sessions end, so that you can experience being without your body. You can experience being free from this limitation for some moments. Well said, well done. But it requires great willpower. And most people can't practice Shravana as it is recommended by the Hatha Yoga teacher. I know this from talking to Hatha Yoga teachers. All
This
right.
is Jen, brother.
Yes.
This is Jen. I just wanted to comment about everything folks have been saying about contentment. And I had a thought about yesterday's class, and it was brought up the goal of detaching from who we think we are, our body, mind, our senses, ego, and learning or having the goal of attaching to our real self, Atman, Brahman, and how Swami Sarvapriyananda calls it a paradigm shift. And that's always, that's at every moment, whether it's pain or however we identify as the front seat. And it's continuous. I don't think any of us like being in the back seat or are accustomed to it. Or like Swami says, you can be in that space and then the mind comes dancing back. It's the workbook as I see it. It's not, there's no stasis in it. It's every moment, if we can, we have that opportunity to shift our identity of who and what we identify as. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Jen. And you and the Swami are absolutely correct. It is indeed a paradigm shift to go from I am the doer, I am the reality, to I am not the doer. And the reality that I have is a spiritual reality, not a phenomenal reality. Very profound paradigm shift. And of course, that would be the kind of term that Sarvapriyananda would use.
Brother, last week we were talking about, I know at the end of the session we were talking about letting go. So I think it comes back to the same. No matter what the pain is, you gotta let go. If it's internal pain which cannot be seen, or external pain, physical, you gotta think that this is only the body, and I'm so much bigger than the body.
Yes, absolutely.
This is only a spacesuit.
About that more next week. But this week, we're talking about contentment and gratitude. Rather than, we've gotten off on pain, and of course there's very good reason for that. That is one of the things that when it occurs is so predominant in our awareness. Well, as Jen was just saying, how do we make that paradigm shift to replacing pain being what is foremost in our awareness with contentment and gratitude?
If the pain starts causing anxiety, it will interrupt that gratitude and contentment.
Oh, yes.
And so if you can realize the pain is just something in the mind that, you're not really attached into being invested in, to the belief of it, so to speak, then it doesn't cause all this anxiety that keeps you from being able to be content.
Well said. There was somebody.
Brother, this is Fred. Good morning.
Yes, Fred.
Good morning to the class. Contentment and gratitude. What it really strikes me in your poem, your beautiful writing, states that they are gifts.
Yes.
And also it talks about how the mind or the thinking can negate the gifts if we let it. So,
Yes.
and I
So
just
there is nothing for us as an embodied being. There is nothing that is not a gift. It can be the gift of contentment and gratitude, or it can be the gift of being broken, which we'll talk about next week. That too is something that leads us to a higher way of being and thinking if we don't yield to anger and resentment. But we'll talk about that next week.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. As always, good to hear from you.
Brother Gaurav here again. It almost feels like no matter whatever the pain is, it's actually happening to us for the greater good.
Yes,
whatever you're going through.
This is what Mother says, Holy Mother says. In time, you will come to understand that all.
We don't know the whole math or behind it.
Yes, yes, yes. This is exactly what Mother says. In time, you will come to understand that all suffering is a blessing. But please, let's not jump ahead to next week. Let's focus a little bit on contentment and gratitude as a way of being.
I'd like to jump in and on the topic and sort of, I guess, and say that, you know, sometimes we can confuse happiness with contentment. We think if we're not happy or feeling happy, then we're not content. And they're not the same thing. And one of my favorite quotes about that subject is from William Saroyan. And he says, the key to great happiness is to know that you do not necessarily require happiness.
Very well said. And so like William Saroyan.
Very nice.
For those of you who haven't read his books, My Name is Aram and The Human Comedy, I highly recommend both of those books. My Name is Aram, which is a collection of short stories, and his book, The Human Comedy, which is rooted in his experience of World War II. Very profound books, both of them. He was a remarkable example of a stage.
Who's the author?
William Saroyan, Saroyan, an Armenian name. William Saroyan.
So I love that the painting or whatever of Kali dancing on Shiva, and
Yes.
Shiva is just laying there, just still dreaming or unperturbed, no desire, no anything. And, you know, that's the contentment that, you know, we're talking about, or that is the contentment.
Yes, indeed. Because it is detached from the, well, in any event, we won't go into.
What did Saroyan do during World War II that inspired this book?
Oh, please, let's not go into Saroyan. Just, if you want to know, read the book. Let's not take time with that. Thank you
Cindy?
for bringing it up.
Cindy, sorry, could you repeat that quote, please?
Yeah. Let me, I have it pulled up. Let me make sure I quoted exactly correctly. Okay. The greatest happiness you can have is knowing that you do not necessarily require happiness.
What a profound and paradoxical statement.
Yes.
Can we
Thank you.
say thank you, Miss Cindy? Can we say contentment is the bliss we all seek? To me, it is the bliss to me.
Well, if that's the way you want to think about it, a bliss, in my mind, the bliss as it's used in Satchidananda, Ananda means more than simply contentment or even gratitude. It is all encompassing. It is comprehensive. It is what is gestured to in the Gita, when you have finally achieved yoga as defined by Sri Krishna, you have achieved Ananda. And it is beyond all limitation of Maya. It is something beyond. So, though contentment is a component of bliss, and gratitude is as well, bliss, as I understand it, at least from here, is more comprehensive.
The only requirement that we require is the physical body, and we only need that if we intend to interact with this physical universe.
Yes, exactly. And but the question then remains, Robert, who is doing the intending? You know, and that's what we explore in this poem. We only just have a little time left. Shall I read the poem again, or shall we continue our discussion?
Read it, brother.
All right. Here goes.
And then continue the discussion.
As pleases yourselves. Contentment and gratitude. Thou, 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 my beloved Thakur-Ma, thy will be done. This is your machine. Thou art the operator. To be content is your grace. It is a gift beyond measure. I cannot will it to be, though I can wish for contentment to come, and I do. The same is true of thanks. Gratitude for what you offer is another of your great gifts. Yearning for that too arises. Yearning for that too arises when my mind seems empty and when my heart seems empty. That too arises when my heart seems empty and my mind complains, Oy vey es mio, oh woe is me. My heartfelt prayer is to be thankful and content. Please grant that. You who are ever present, all knowing, and the doer of all we know. Let me be patient and forbearing like the tree, and take no honor to myself. The rest of that is from Chaitanya's prayer. Take no honor to myself, give honor to all. Chant unceasingly the name of the Lord. So that is the poem. Thou, 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 my beloved Thakur-Ma, thy will be done. This is your machine. Thou art the operator. To be content is your grace. It is a gift beyond measure. I cannot will it to be, though I can wish for contentment to come, and I do. So the request was we continue the discussion. We have just a few moments left. It's, if I'm correct here, we have 6 minutes. So what does anyone have to say from your own wisdom or experience, your own concerns, or your own question about any of what has been said previously, what was just said in rereading the poem, or just from your own heartfelt concern about being a member of this congregation studying the art of spirituality together. What is it you'd like to offer us? because we deeply want to hear from you. You are that, Tattva.
I think your poem speaks to how the mind can't get around grace. It's just impenetrable by the mind.
Exactly. That's exactly right. You heard it exactly right. We cannot get around grace. All of what we're offered is grace. And of course, this poem stresses the positive aspects. Next week, we'll talk about something else. But you're right. There is no way of getting around the fact that what this entire universe is an expression of the grace of the divine. And for what reason? As has been said over and over in scripture after scripture by sage after sage, teacher after teacher, we don't know why and we can't ask why. Vivekananda said, it is a meaningless question to ask why. But here it is. And we are part of it, inextricably. How can we say otherwise? As Swami Sridharananda points out, we start off with the idea, I am. How can we say otherwise? I am. So how does the poem end? The poem ends with the request, the prayer, to be granted this understanding that all is thy grace. Anything else from anyone? Anything at all that you'd like to offer us?
It's a very interesting, like maybe it's very intimate and personal. So I'm not sure if I should say this or not, but so I think couple of more than a year back, I went to Kamakhya Shaktipeeth in India, and so basically, it's in the central part where there is the deity. There's no idol. It's like water, and so you got to touch the water, and they say that you just have to take it like prasad. And I mean, obviously, people go there asking for various wishes because I think she's the goddess of desire, apparently. So I thought a lot, what should I ask? I have to ask something. What is the most auspicious thing I should ask? And so I did ask, like, mastery and freedom from desire. And then it is very strange because it's the exactly the opposite. I realized after that what I asked without knowing it was the exactly the opposite of what everybody else was asking there. And probably had I known that, then probably I would ask for something else. I'm not sure. Maybe I would have asked for the same thing, um, but it's almost like, maybe the mother can give you something like more happiness with money or whatever, or family life, or all the pleasures and gifts that life can bring, but maybe it'll just create more distraction, and so it'll be hard for you to stay content.
Well, all of those things that you mentioned provide some temporary pleasure. They satisfy, as Swami Prabhupada said, a restlessness of the mind. And when the mind's restlessness is temporarily satisfied by our having some sense pleasure or some extra money come to us or something, There's this brief respite. But what happens? Our true original nature emerges. Our true original nature is this joy, this contentment, this bliss. And so that's what you were asking for. You were asking for the higher, and that was very auspicious indeed. To ask for the lower is to be just further entrapped. It's no harm, no foul, as long as you're not doing any harm to anyone else. But it certainly is just a way to remain at the best on a level playing field, and perhaps even drawn downward. Thank you. Anything else from anyone?
To me, your poem kind of speaks in a way that, you know, for longer than we can remember as humans or beings, we've been staring at this great sun in the center of creation, just bewildered by it, you know, radiating consciousness and grace and all these bliss and all these things, and we just can't figure it out. We just
No. Figuring it out is a thing of the mind, and figuring it out is never going to work. We can only realize it through spiritual practice, and that, of course, is a matter of regular spiritual practice over, for most people, a long period of time. And so it's difficult to achieve. But as Swami Vivekananda said, since the payoff is so great, why would you want anything else? It's the only thing where the payoff is true liberation and freedom from limitation. Thank you.
But brother, I feel like I'm gonna go there next time and I'm gonna ask the goddess, give me the most auspicious desire that is ever possible.
Ah, well, of course, that's the right request. She will decide what's best for you, and always has been deciding what is best for you, though it is not apparent to us. That's exactly what's happening.
Because I feel like a life without desire or will or whatever it is, it's very difficult. I mean, it's fine if I'm disembodied or whatever, but if I'm embodied, then life without desire is a little bit.
It's not possible just to continue to wish to continue being alive. And when we stop wishing to be alive entirely, though this is not within our power to do, then the body drops away. I mean, this is the yogic posture of nirvikalpa samadhi. Once you have been in the state of nirvikalpa samadhi, the body drops away. For most people, immediately. For some, it takes 21 days, we're told. And for some, very few, who remain as teachers, they retain the ego of wisdom or the ego of love, and they remain as teachers. An example of the ego of wisdom is Adi Shankaracharya, and an example of the ego of love is Narada, the Narada's Bhakti Sutras. And according to Swami Vivekananda, unique among teachers is Sri Ramakrishna, who taught from both the ego of wisdom and the ego of love, which is why he could respond appropriately and very succinctly to anyone who asked him a spiritual question, because he saw if they were of a jnani temperament or leaned that direction, he saw from the ego of wisdom. If they were a bhakta, he saw from the ego of love, and so was able to address them perfectly.
You
So
know,
it's a little bit after the hour. We can continue this as long as you like, but I just like to point out that it is indeed a little after the hour.
you know, when Sri Ramakrishna said, "You've come to the mango orchard," so eat the mangoes.
Exactly.
It's up to you as to what those mangoes are, and for me, more and more I find that the whole purpose of me coming to duality in this life is to be at the feet of the master and to experience that.
Yes. And what a great way to enjoy the mangoes. He has them to give to us in abundance. I've actually experienced that. I once had the experience of being in the presence of one of the Thakur-Ma's great teachers. And I was given the task of bringing him a mango. And I did that, and he gestured for me to sit down in the room with him. And so we sat together in silence for about 30 minutes. And then he gestured for me to come and kneel in front of him. And I did. And as I did that, he gave me back the mango, which of course then I took down. We all shared at breakfast. But it was quite a moment. As you can see, it left a mark on this heart. Anything else from anyone?
There's just one thing, and it's not completely spiritual. I would say it's more of a trick. So there is this, I feel sometimes like our body doesn't have the right nutrients, and so there's a product called Calm, and basically it's a nutrient. It's magnesium something, magnesium carbonate or whatever. And it's almost like Epsom salt, like some people put in the bath and then they sit there for a while and feel a little bit calm and content. So I mean, it works a lot for me because first of all, it's something which is good for the body, which is because it's a nutrient. It's not any other stuff that people do, but there's a remarkable difference in my meditations after I take it.
Good.
And so I'm not sure, like from a spiritual perspective, what is the implication, but I think it probably hinders, it removes some body obstructions, like maybe some sort of chemical imbalance in the body that makes it difficult.
You can ponder on it forever, dear, and not come to any secure conclusion. The science is there for you to study if you wish, but just accept it as a grace. Your meditation is better. What more could you ask? If your meditation is calmer and better, then this is a wonderful thing for you to do.
And then on top of it, like there is there's one type of sort of deep breathing called Ujjayi or ocean breath. And I think it's one of the rare pranayams that you can do as much, like almost the whole day or whatever, because it's basically breathing in a different style.
Yes.
And so that is also very, very like it's almost like letting go, be calm and be like content and just relax.
Wonderful. All of that's wonderful.
I feel like sometimes in this Kali Yuga, where we're so bogged down by this physical world, maybe this physical world itself is the key to rising up. I don't know.
Well, of course it has to be. What else is it for? It is, we are in this physical world in order to learn the lessons of this physical world. And as has been pointed out earlier, we can't ask why. We don't know why. We don't know what the intentions of the divine person are. We simply can accept that this is what we're doing. So well said. Anything else from anyone before we sign off?
This is kind of funny, but I just refer to my body as the meat puppet. And I'm just the animator, and sometimes I have to force the meat puppet to do the animator's will, but it's just a puppet.
I forget who else it was that referred to it as a meat puppet. Perhaps it was the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. I really don't remember. It was one of the great teachers. But yeah, we're a meat puppet. We're a bag of sacca. We're a sack of skin and bones. All right, dearest dears. Until Tuesday, so good to have been with you, as always. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai. Durga, Durga, Durga. May we all be safe. May we all be cheerful. May we all have peace of mind. May we all go forward in the secure knowledge that we are in the loving and protective embrace of the Divine Being as our Mother and Father, no matter how it may seem to us at any given moment. So, with great love and affection, I say, may we be well and in bright spirits until Tuesday at the earliest, when we'll gather together to study. What is it we're studying? We're still studying the Gospel on Tuesday, and on Wednesday we're now studying the book Divine Grace. No, we're still
Seeing God Everywhere, I think, is going to be our new one.
Yeah, we're anyway. There'll be a class on Tuesday, and again on Saturday, and then again a talk on next Sunday. So all that will be there. Come and find out what it is we're up to. Much love to you all, and let us be well and in bright spirits.
Jai Ma.
We love you, Shankara. Thank you.
Love you.
Love you too,
Thank you.
dears. Bye-bye.